Dr. Engrist, would you please begin by introducing yourself to the jury?
Yes, I'm Dr. Alfred Engrist.
And could you tell us a little bit about your qualifications, Dr. Engrist?
Yes, I'm a pathologist. I graduated from the University of Wisconsin in Madison in 1972. I attended medical school at the University of Chicago, graduated in 1976.
Okay, and what else is involved in becoming a doctor, Dr. Engrist, after you've attended school?
Well, you do your residency and internship.
And could you tell us where you did your residency?
At Northwestern University Medical School. I did my internship there in pathology in 1976 and 77, and then I went to the University of Chicago for residency for clinical pathology in 77 and 79.
So you mentioned that your residency and internship both involve pathology. Could you tell us just a tiny bit about what pathology is?
Yes, pathology is the study of tissue and things that happen to tissue. We could analyze it and determine what might have occurred.
Okay, all right. And Dr. Engrist, have you had any articles published in peer publications?
Yes, I've had articles published primarily in the area of heart pathology.
Okay, so that's your field of specialization, heart pathology then?
Yes, it is.
But you have worked extensively in other areas of pathology also?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and do you belong to any professional organizations?
Well, yes, I'm a member of the American Medical Association. Was the president of the Cook County Medical Society.
So that would be a local
Right,
society.
here in Illinois, yes. I was Medical Society of the State of Illinois. I was the vice president of that society. I was in the Illinois Pathology Society. I was president of that. I was in the Chicago Council for Social Welfare. I was president of that society. I was in the Health Insurance Plan of Illinois on the executive committee.
Excellent. And I'm assuming that since you've been practicing medicine for a number of years, you've also received some honors and awards?
Yes, I have. I have an honorary Doctor of Science degree from Yeshiva University. I have an alumni medallion for distinguished service from the University of Illinois.
And do you have any professional affiliations, Doctor?
Approximately 2 years after he received this gunshot wound, he came to my home. I had him take his shirt off. I examined where the entry wound was, the scar, and noticed the irregularity on the scar tissue. I also examined the medical records, all of which were provided from the medical center.
Dr. Engrist, I'd like you to take a look at an x-ray report here. Could you please give us the date of the report and then tell us what it says?
The date of the report is March 8, 1997. What it states is chest, frontal, and lateral views examination revealed old fracture involving right clavicle. In addition, a fragment of bullet seen in the chest wall on the right side. The lungs fields are clear, and the central shadows are not remarkable.
Okay, thank you. So this is dated 3/8/97, which means it was taken after Mr. Ramirez had the bullet removed from him. Is that
That's correct, yes.
And the bullet was located, it says, in front of the right axial, so is that approximately here?
Right, down
In
the chest cavity area.
Okay. Now, could you describe what Mr. Ramirez told you when you examined him about the history of the wound?
Well, Mr. Ramirez told me, as I was examining and conferring with him, that he was pushing himself up from the ground when he was shot through the right shoulder.
Okay.
And based on examining the medical records and his body, it was stated that it was approximately 3 feet away, and his pushing up motion caused motion in his muscle structure and skin, and that's why the wound from that distance should have been a clear in and probably should have traveled straight out of the shoulder, the right shoulder, but instead it was an irregular wound indicating movement such as pushing up from the ground, and it appeared that the bullet traveled in a downward motion instead of what was reported that it was straight ahead, which would explain when it hit the scapular, it fractured and traveled down into the heart cavity area to the right.
Okay, so based on the irregularity of the wound and then the final location of the bullet, you believe that the path was from the shoulder down into the chest.
That's
and that
correct.
the bullet was fired at a downward angle, not straight at Mr. Ramirez. Is that?
That is correct. Based on my examination of the records of Mr. Ramirez and the x-rays and everything, I concluded that the gun was shot in a downward trajectory while Mr. Ramirez was pushing up to get off the ground.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Dr. Angrist. Dr. Angrist, you testified a moment ago for the plaintiff and made the statement that the bullet wound was irregular. Now, there's no disputing this irregular. The medical records actually show this irregularity. I have here a copy of the report from the discharge summary. If you could begin reading right here on line 36.
Line 36. The bowel sounds were normal. In the back of the right shoulder, one gunshot wound was noted, probably the wound of entry, measuring about 1 centimeter in diameter with ragged, irregular margins.
Thank you. However, in your testimony, you said that, in your opinion, the wound irregularity was caused because Mr. Ramirez was pushing himself up off the ground.
That's correct.
Is it not also possible, Dr. Angrist, that the wound irregularity was caused because of side-to-side motion rather than up-and-down motion?
Well, there's definitely motion was occurring. There's a possibility that...
Yes, Dr. Angrist, but is side-to-side motion a possible explanation for it as well as up-and-down motion?
It could be.
Was that a yes? That side-to-side motion could also account for the irregularity of the entrance wound?
Yes.
Okay, and Dr. Angrist, you mentioned in your report that you didn't see anything in the records indicating the actual path that the bullet took, simply the final position of the bullet and the location of the entry wound. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so because of that, Dr. Angrist, you actually don't know for certain what path the bullet took. Is that correct?
Well, we can assume that the path the bullet took is that when it hit the scapula, it deflected and lodged down the right side of the heart cavity area by the diaphragm.
So you're suggesting that a possible explanation for the lower front location of the bullet is deflection off of the scapula. Is that correct?
And the downward trajectory of the bullet that was fired.
But that deflection could also account for the location.
It could have...
So in other words, it could have been a downward trajectory of the bullet, but it could also have been deflection off of the scapula. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And Dr. Angrist, is it not true that in reviewing this, you were reviewing this for the plaintiff, the records and the situation
That's correct.
as his expert,
Yes.
and that your hypothesis was based on his version of the events in which he's pushing himself up from the ground when he's shot?
Right, I interviewed him and he explained what happened the night of the shooting.
Okay. Dr. Angrist, suppose we change your hypothesis just a little bit and place Mr. Ramirez in an upright position when he's shot at, with his arm raised, right arm raised, to make a stabbing motion to Officer Levy. Could that position and the movement that a struggle would cause, coupled with deflection off the scapula, result in an irregular entry wound and the final positioning of the bullet in the front of his chest, low down? In your opinion?
Well, in my opinion, yes. However, I believe there was some downward trajectory on this shot for the path of travel.
So you don't think that based on the final position of the bullet, deflection would account for all of the downward angle?
That's correct.
Thank you, Dr. Angrist. Oh gosh, I'm